This is the Black Powder Podcast, coming at you live and direct.
Your salty tears season my life. It's the Black Powder Podcast.
Good evening, and once again, it's on. This is the Black Powder Podcast, the only real libertarian podcast that has ever existed. And if you don't know about us, you're not a real libertarian. Actually, you're not a real libertarian because I'm the only real libertarian. I am Marcus Matthews, one of your hosts tonight, and I'm joined, as usual, by my brother out there in North Kakalaki, Eric Parker. How you doing, my good man?
North Carolina, come on and raise up.
Where you at, North Carolina?
Anyways, by way of Florida.
By way of
Florida too, because Tub ain't here, but
by way of South Georgia, because
by way of Southeast Georgia.
I want to get to we're going to get to our show tonight, but first I have to address the elephant in the room, and forgive my faux pas for saying elephant, because they just proved they're a bunch of jackasses, just like the Democrats. And they let my guy fall by the wayside. Why? Because he stood up for people that they didn't care about it. And that guy is Thomas Massey. Eric, go ahead, because Tubbs here, so we can cuss. Tubbs not here.
Well, I'm still gonna try not to, but I'm pretty pissed. You know, like, hey, why do you care? You're no longer a registered Republican. But when I was a Ron Paul Republican, 2008, 2012, Rand Paul, 2016. And it was at the end of Ron Paul's legacy that Justin Amash, Rand Paul, and Thomas Massey came into the Republican Party. And you thought, hey, there's room for some limited government Republicans inside the Republican Party. Now, I left the Republican Party in 2020 because the writing was on the wall that during COVID, most Republicans weren't standing up for our individual liberties, and they were embracing tyranny. And there was one guy that stood up against that at the time in the House, and that was Thomas Massey. So he obviously, y'all could go look up the primary election, but it's a record-setting, I guess, $32 million at least being spent by his opponent. A lot of that political action committee money, a lot of that money from special interest groups and lobbyists, and interests from outside of the United States, money coming into that campaign. He lost, okay? And this should be a sign, like COVID was to me when I was a Republican, that they're coming for libertarians inside the Republican Party, and their goal is to push them out. So if you are still a registered Republican and you're as pissed off about this election to Thomas Massey as I am, this is your wake-up call. I'm urging you, go to lp.org, change your voter registration from Republican to, I went ahead and went straight to Libertarian. And then I reached out to my local affiliate and said, how can I get involved? That turned into me running for city council in Jacksonville, Florida as a Libertarian, because of really what the Republicans at city council were doing during COVID at the time. So not only did I leave the Republican Party, but I ran directly against them and their policies. I didn't win. I had thought I was helping spread the message of liberty, and I think I was. I just don't know that that message is going to spread freely inside the Republican Party. I don't think it is. So this is your wake-up call. Come join the LP National with us. Join your local Libertarian affiliate. Get involved. Volunteer. That being said, enough
Excellent.
about a Republican election.
Thank you, Eric, for those moving words. I concurred 100% with you on this is a moment in time to take advantage. Speaking of the Libertarian Party, this weekend, what it officially starts tomorrow, is the National Convention. And we're closing out our series with we've talked to everybody that's running for LNC chair except for one gentleman. And we are fortunate enough today to have him come on. And without further ado, we're going to add him to the stage. Please welcome Mr. Evan McMahon. How
you doing? Hey, guys. How's it going? Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. Normally, Eric's going to get to his segment, but I just wanted to get your quick input on what Eric just spoke about with the Massey thing real quick.
Listen, I mean, Congressman Massey, I disagreed with him on some things, but there were a lot of things that I agreed with him on. And I can say like he was the fighter for freedom and liberty and individualism in the government, in Congress. He was standing up and pushing back against tyranny. He was exposing the corruption of foreign interests in our government. He was demanding that the Epstein files be released and that people be prosecuted for their participation in that pedophile ring. He stood up and spoke truth to power. Like I said, I didn't agree with all of his policies all the time, but listen, I don't agree with everybody all the time on everything. Sometimes I disagree with myself on stuff. So, I got to cut the man some slack. But here's the big takeaway of what happened is this. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. The masters at the top of that party, the people who are controlling that corporate party, are never going to let you stand on principle. They will always demand that you abide by what their sponsors are telling you to speak about and to shut up about. And that was the proof right here. $32 million spent in a freaking primary election. Are you kidding me? In Kentucky, dude. Like, come on. Like, and the opponent never appeared on TV, didn't participate in events, left his chat GPT prompt in his posts. Like, come on, man. Like, if people can't see that they've been hoodwinked, they've been bamboozled, they've been set upon, if they can't see that, then they deserve it, to be honest, because you're blind to it now. We've been talking about it for decades. This is the proof right here in the Kentucky 4th. And I just hope it wakes people up. And it's not just the Republican Party. It's not just Trump. It's the Democrats that do it too. If you have a Democrat that stands up and says, hey, listen, maybe we shouldn't shut down small businesses. Maybe we should let people make decisions for themselves about their health and safety and their family. They get primaried out as well. And so it's all the parties because it's the duopoly. It's the corporatist structure within politics that's so corrosive. If you're sick of that, if you're tired of it, I'd say it's time to throw off those chains of the Republican and Democrat parties. It's time to look for a new political home. Maybe that's the Libertarian Party. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the Green Party. But it's time to break free and to say, I'm not buying into your BS anymore. That's what I feel for Thomas Massey. They said so many things about him that were just untrue. And I think he handled it with grace. And he's a great man. So I feel for him being set upon like that. That's what I feel about it.
Excellent. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So I kind of start off each conversation with really all of our guests, not just the other Libertarian chair candidates. With this question, it's kind of a 3-part question, more of a conversation to get things moving in this direction. But here it goes. What was your aha moment when you realized you were philosophically a libertarian? When did you decide to join the Libertarian Party? And what made you decide to run for chair of the Libertarian Party?
So philosophically, there was a crazy libertarian in my hometown of Bloomington, Indiana, that I would hear things from, and I was a Republican, young Republican kid. Uh, a gay Republican in a very liberal town. I was not well liked. uh, and I heard this guy talking, and some of what he said made sense. Some of it I thought was crazy because I didn't know yet. I hadn't had that awakening. And it kind of stuck with me. And as time went on, and I worked on a lot of Republican campaigns across the country, but secretly I would vote for libertarians quite often. The moment for me, so there's a guy in Indiana that everybody knows in the Libertarian Party called Mark Rutherford. He's the godfather in Indiana. And he had been poking me for a couple of years, being like, "Hey, when you're tired of cashing that dirty money checks and want to come actually stand on principle, the Libertarian Party's here for you, buddy. We don't have any money, but you'll feel better at the end of the day." And I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good." And then in 2010, I was working on my last Republican campaigns, and I just kept getting disillusioned that year more and more and more. And then I was working on a very local campaign, and my candidate was winning, and all of the other Republicans in that county had been called and had lost. And they hated my candidate because she had spoken out against the Republican governor's plan for annexation. And they literally turned the war room off and didn't want to support her anymore. And I was like, these people don't actually believe anything. And it was like, and I had been picking that up over and over and over again over many years, that this wasn't the party of leaving you alone and let you live your life the way you want. It really wasn't. It was just a different flavor of control. And it was that night that I was so disillusioned by it that it broke me. And I called Mark Rutherford and I was like, "All right, man, I'm ready." And he welcomed me in and he was like, "Join the party and let's get you working on a libertarian campaign, pay back some of that, get some good karma." So that was my epiphany moment. That was in 2010 that I switched parties and joined up with the Libertarian Party and really got to work in my state affiliate in Indiana, started working on campaigns right away. And it was great. Why do I want to be chair, or when did I realize or decide I wanted to run for chair of the national party? So I've been the chair in Indiana since 2021, and and I'm standing on the shoulder of giants in my state. There were a lot of great chairs before me, a lot of activists, amazing candidates, and I just kind of worked to take it to the next level. So we were already like here, and I wanted to bring us up to here. And over the last couple of years, I've had people say, "Hey, listen, what would it take for you to run for national chair and kind of turn this around and bring some of the same expertise from Indiana and help, the rest of the country, other affiliates, give your best practices, help and support them, coach them, build them up, not dictate down to them? What would it take?" And I said, I've got some commitments in Indiana to see, transition, get things going, get my successor set up. But after that, I'd be, open to it. And really it was that interest of other people had me thinking about, is this the right thing for me to do? And where we are in the world today, with people being black bagged off the street, with, tariffs being imposed, with the Department of Justice being weaponized, with people being canceled over giving their opinions and beliefs, like all of it going in, the tyranny at every level. Like, this is real now. This isn't the theoretical that we've been talking about for years. This is the real thing, man. We've got a government that wants to silence you, and they'll do it at the barrel of a gun. And I said, listen, the Libertarian Party is the best vehicle to combat that, to wake people up and to make real change in our communities, to have a freer life. I want to lead that. I want to help get our people there and to have those successes so that we can see and show other people that the libertarian philosophy is the thing that's going to set you free.
So I just wanted to, I guess my question was to expand on that. And if you would, like, detailed planned on where do you see the Libertarian Party under your leadership, and how would you move it forward to get to that spot?
Yeah, so I'm going to be real super nerdy and drop some numbers on you. Right now, the Libertarian Party has about 9,000 national members. But if you like actually dig in and read our membership report, it's actually like 6,000 because 3,000 of them are lifetime members that haven't been active in a few years. That ain't great. 6,000? That's not great. In 2000, we had 33,000 active dues paid members in the party. We were bringing in $3.3 million that year. We're less than $1 million this year, and we have 6,000 active members. How can you hold a rally in your county when you don't have members? How can you recruit candidates when you don't have members? How can you get the team of people to go plant yard signs and phone bank and knock on doors, or go to a rally at the State House to protest a bad bill if you don't have members? Membership is that key. And so I want to bring back the Archimedes Project from the late 90s and the Parity Project, which moves to put our membership and our fundraising on parity with the Republican and Democrat parties so that we can actually be a challenge to them and be something that they fear instead of, where we are now, where we're like a nuisance. So that's my basis is I want us to be better than we were in 2000. So by the end of 2028, my goal is to have 66,000 active dues paid members of the Libertarian Party and to be bringing in $4 million a year. And you're thinking Evan, that sounds great, but that's just a number, right? You could throw out any number. There are 730 registered Libertarian voters across the country. And we can't just send a postcard to them and say, hey, dude, give us $25 and become a member. No, we have to target them and find out what their libertarian issues are, what made them become a registered libertarian voter, and start communicating with them based off of those issues. And then you have to have a life cycle that's tracked to say how many communication touches have we had with this person on these things so that you can work them from a cold contact to a member, a volunteer, a donor, a candidate, a leader in the party, but you have to be able to track that. Now, I'm not saying in 6 months we're going to have 10,000 new members. It doesn't work that way. You can't do it overnight. It's going to take 2 years of active communication with new contacts and our members, man. You should be getting communications from us about the good and positive things, and maybe some of as members, the things that we failed at to show we've learned and pivoted. But you should be getting communications more than hey, fund this ballot access drive or donate today or, buy your convention packet. There should be more, bigger, better communications highlighting the things that both the national party, our state and county affiliates and candidates have achieved. Through all of those, we grow membership. If we can grow membership, we're going to raise money. If we can raise money, we can hire the staff. We can get the tools. We can get the resources to help our candidates so that they can win and change policy. That's my
Excellent. Word. Shout out to we have a couple comments in there. Shout out to Amity.
Love Amity.
Yeah. How's my favorite libertarian? I'm great.
I'm doing great.
Doing fabulous. Thanks, Amity.
And then my guy Free, hey guys, I feel sorry for you because not only were you on this show yesterday, and he's such a pretentious guy that he thinks everything's all about him. When clearly,
don't tell him this, but this is my favorite podcast.
Absolutely,
this is my favorite.
We know. Thank you.
Don't tell him, but just don't tell him. Keep it between us.
I'm not going to say anything to him because
I love you, Free.
He's a bit of a hothead. And when I was with him in San Diego, he tried to fight me 3 times.
Dude, he tried to fight me in Florida.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with the guy. He's just a violent indivial. He's always
he's a teddy bear. He's Free's an awesome guy. I love Free. You're amazing, buddy.
Yeah, he's soft. He's got soft hands.
Anyway, Eric, you got your next question, bro?
I kind of want to keep, I guess, a lot of people don't think so. The national convention is right now, this week, starting now. They're going to vote on the new chair. The chair position is it last 1 year, 2 years? next national convention? Do you have a plan to try to stay chair for a while if you get elected? I know the Parity Project was like a multi-year, like a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
Do you have a 2-year plan? And it's just numbers of growth? Is it fundraising, or are you focused on being chair next election and focusing on, like, should we have a national, I guess, presidential candidate in 2 years? And is that important to you? Sorry.
Well, that was a lot. Okay, let me see if I can work through all of these.
Trying to get there, and I was like, I'm not there. It doesn't make sense. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I got it. You're asking long term, basically.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Like, I'm definitely committed through 2030. So I could do 2 terms, and the terms are 2 years. I advocate that we change it to a 4-year term, elected in non-presidential years, and here's why. At the end of our convention for the presidential term, or in the presidential years, as soon as that convention's over, you're at the tail end of petitioning for that presidential candidate. And somebody deciding not to seek re-election or switching gears or whatever can really kind of mess up that petitioning process. We've seen it before. It's a bad deal. It can suck. Also, like, just seeing that strategy through for the presidential campaign, like, I think it's important. But I want to hit my goals in 2 years. Now, I may not hit every one of them, and I may fall short. But I hope the membership looks to see, like, is the plan working? Are we doing an uptrend, like a significant uptrend? But it's basically going to come down to, have I delivered for the members and our affiliates? And they're the ones that are going to decide. I don't see myself going past 2 years or 2 terms of 4 years total, not 2 years of 4 or 2 terms of 4. I ain't doing 8 years, but I will commit to doing 4 years if the membership wants me, and we're on track and we're doing good. But the Parity Project is a 10-year thing, and I would think that if we're doing good in 4 years, the chair that comes in after and the board that comes in after would want to keep that going. I can't see somebody being like, oh, hey, look, we're successful at membership and fundraising, we should screw that up. I don't think that's a thing. Maybe, I don't know, but I would say that seems like a bad idea. But so is a presidential campaign important? Absolutely, for a couple of reasons. The first one is, it is the easiest way for us to get our message out on a national stage to people, even in small rural areas. The presidential candidate can get media attention more. They can, when a presidential candidate comes into your city, the press will cover it. And what we do here in Indiana is, when our presidential candidate or vice presidential candidate comes in, we make sure that we have local candidates from the area. We have our state legislative. We have our top of the ticket candidates that are right there with them, so that they're in the shot. They also get interviewed, and we make sure that they're ready with good sound bites about a local issue. So we get coverage for our own candidates as well, not just the message of the presidential campaign. But so having that across the country is important. I believe in 50 state ballot access. As a state chair, I loved being able to say every American will have a libertarian on their ballot this year. I couldn't say that in 2024 because we didn't have, for the first time since I've been in the party, we didn't have 50 state ballot access. And that was heartbreaking to me because I couldn't say that truthfully. Mm-hmm. That's hard. That's rough, man. The presidential ticket is part of the ballot access process or requirement for several states. So not having a presidential candidate screws that party out of having local candidates, which is, where I think the bee's knees is at on the local level, because you can build up name ID, you can build up goodwill for the county party. You get a candidate elected to a township advisory board or a county council, and then they could do positive libertarian things on that. And they're setting the example of, you don't have to be a tyrannical bureaucracy. You can actually govern from a space of individualism and liberty. So, yeah, I think it's important. I think we need to have a presidential candidate. I think the national party needs to put resources behind the presidential candidate and should certainly fully endorse our nominee. And if you can't endorse our nominee, you need to step down. I'm the state chair. If my party nominated somebody that I couldn't support for governor, I'd resign. If I can't fully go out there and say, this is our candidate, and I'm going to give everything that I can as the state chair to supporting this candidate, I'd have to step down so that they could give somebody who could do the job. So, yeah. Did that answer your question, Eric? Is that good?
Great answer for my very terribly worded question. I felt like you understood my energy, and I was like missing the words there. So great job.
Yeah, that guy Free, who is an aggressive individual, said that was a 2-year-long question. And that guy, he just always looking for a fight. I don't understand.
Look, it's real easy to not have a scripted show like Free has. You know what I mean? Like sometimes,
it's amazing because he still gets it wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't want to give him too much credence here on the Only Real Libertarian podcast, so I'm going to move on. Now, what I find being a libertarian in California, the state, 4th largest economy in the world, and also has the most libertarians in the United States, is often
I don't know that do they have the most the most per capita?
No, actually Indiana has the most per capita.
Per capita. No, we're not bringing the per capita bullshit into this conversation tonight. So let me tell you, we have the majority of libertarians in the world. Here in the 4th largest economy also in the world.
You've already said it once. You don't got to reiterate.
I have to.
Haven't even mentioned your father was a deacon yet.
There's been no segue into that yet. You can write your questions down too, Eric. This guy, he's arrogant and violent. I don't understand.
Here's the thing: is I like to just shoot from the hip. I don't know if you picked that up yet.
There you go. All right.
Wait a minute, hold on. You were talking about California and how an amazing your state is, and
it is amazing. I mean, you can still
Marcus,
buy.
You got a question or what?
Yeah, let me get to this point. You can still buy an AK-47 here in California, by the way. Right now, you can go to gun store.
In Indiana, I feel like you can.
Well, no, I'm just saying, because there's a lot of detraction on California guns and all that stuff. But if you know what you're doing, you're all right. But my question to you is, we're at a different inflection point in our society right now, where the mainstream media is falling by the wayside, and the messaging, my problem with libertarians and me as a libertarian is when I tell people that, because I tell people I'm a libertarian like vegetarians tell people they're vegetarians. I say, hey, I got a solution for what you're complaining about. You're complaining about high gas prices. Here's a solution. You're complaining about your grocery bill. But I often get back, libertarians are being defined by the duopoly.
Yeah.
And not by us. So how do you plan on addressing how libertarians are being defined on the national stage?
Yeah. So there's a couple of ways to do this. Well, 3 that I can think of right off the top of my head, which one is by leading by example in your communities. So like people say libertarians are selfish. In Indiana, our districts have what we call Service Saturdays, which is the second Saturday of the month. All the libertarians in that district get together and they go support a local charity. And the thing is we don't talk about it. We don't put out a press release. We don't post photos on Facebook. We just go and help. Now, if the group we're working with wants to post about it and talk about it, we're good with that. But it's doing things in our community. Try finding a Democrat or Republican county party that's out there doing that. They don't. Leading by example, doing the things when we had when a tornado comes through, libertarians get together with their chainsaws and they go and they cut up the trees that fall in the roadways and help each other out, and have like libertarian t-shirts on. It's leading by example. It's not being a jerk when you're in public and being hostile to other people. It's being respectful. Other people need to come to the liberty moment for themselves. They need to have that epiphany, and they're not going to get it when you are forcing it down their throat. so to speak. When you're fire hosing the Kool-Aid of liberty into their mouth, instead give them a shot glass and let them try it out. Give them a little sample. So, that's thing number one. Thing number two is we need to stop talking to each other using our language and our vocabulary and vernacular. We need to talk to people about the things that they actually care about. Like I'm passionate about ending the Federal Reserve, ending the Fed. Let's have real money instead of this fake fiat crap. Let's have real money that's backed by something. Let's have community currencies. Let's have bartering programs. Let's not have a centralized bank that is manipulating and stealing from us through inflation. Guess what? Most people don't know or care what that means. They care about putting food on the table. They care about, are they going to be able to fill up their car on Friday? They care about the fact that the cost of their vegetables went up 28% in a month and a half. That's what they care about. Listen to them talk about that. I gave a talk a couple of years ago when there was the shortage of formula because there had been a contamination at the two regulated and allowed permitted formula production facilities in the country, because the FDA will only allow those two. I see mothers on Facebook freaking out because they can't feed their babies and they're crying out for help. And my hand to God, I saw a libertarian give a wall of text explaining to them why the FDA was to blame for their starving child. And all I could think of was that mother doesn't need a lesson. She doesn't need to educated. She needs a bottle of formula, dude. Yeah. Help her out first. That's the problem that we have, is we need more empathy. We need to see the other person's experience that we're talking to and connect with them on a human level and not our nerdy-tism level, okay? We have to connect with people in a real way. That's thing number two. Thing number three is, I'm going to throw out a name. Please don't throw up. We need a Zohran Mamdani on TikTok talking about liberty issues, not from a negative space, not from a reactionary space, but from a space of like he does, from a charismatic. You know why you can't buy a house right now? It's not because of BlackRock. It's because your local government won't let new houses be built. They only allow apartment buildings in high density that bring in more money for them. Isn't that BS? Shouldn't you be able to build what you want? It can't be me doing that. No one wants to see this dude on TikTok, okay? But like, we need that type of energy, that type of charisma to get the next generation of voter, the next generation of citizen to not see that, capitalism is evil as I sit here in Starbucks on my iPhone bitching about corporate America. Corporatism is bad. Capitalism is great. Capitalism is what allows you to do the things you want to do, to live that life, to chase that Labubu doll. But so we need that now so that we can be getting that message into the next generation now, so they're not being bombarded by the Robert Riches of the world who are making them feel guilty for wanting stuff, making them say you're selfish because you want to have a house. Okay, you're evil because, oh my God, you want to have control of your retirement. How dare you not want to split your paycheck with everybody else? We need somebody to get them thinking differently before they're, groomed by these other people. And it's on the right too, left and right. But so we need that. That's thing number three.
Word.
That was a tangent.
We have, Eric, before you go, we have a question from probably one of the most beautiful libertarians I've ever met in my life.
That's me. Sorry.
Ew.
While Amity is beautiful, she's also brilliant and has a great head for marketing. Yeah. So, Amity, I just want you to know that I love you for your brains.
I do too. But I do question some of her personal choices in life, and she knows what I mean by that. I have all right. So she says, I have a question for Evan. Will fundraising come mostly from membership dues, or do you have a plan to target big money donors also?
So it's got to be a cross between the two. Now, you're not going to raise $4 million, $25 at a time. It's not possible unless you're the government, and then you could do it every time you tax somebody. But you have to have the member dues, and 66, 100,000, 200,000 members at $25 a year. That's great. But no, you have to be going after medium-sized donors who can give $100, who can give $10 a month. You have to target those donors. You have to give them a reason to donate. You have to get them a reason to buy in. Okay. But you have to go after the $10,000. You have to go after the $44,000 donors. Now, the thing is they don't control things. They don't make you change principle, but they have a seat at the table to say, hey, listen, I think that it's important that we do, monthly printed mailers, which I think is important. I think that a physical piece of mail is a lot harder to ignore than the hundreds of emails that you get, right? But if somebody's really passionate about that and they want to put $40,000 in it, dude, boom, that becomes a priority project now, right? Because you put the money into it to help pay for it. But so we need big donors but project-based, something where they're supporting a specific initiative or a specific thing, and you get them to take on that burden so that we're not relying on $25 a year membership dues to try to fund something massive and major that's going to support our candidates and our affiliates. But it's all the different stages of membership. And here's the other thing. I want you to know, I'm not the guy who's going to say, if you can't donate $100 or $10 a month, you don't matter to me. You matter to me if you're going to put in the work. I'll take your time or your treasure, one of the two. Are you willing to go out and put, 5 hours a week working for a candidate, knocking on doors or putting in yard signs? Are you going to go stand at your county courthouse in an anti-war rally and bring 4 other people? Give me your time, give me your treasure. But yeah, focusing on different levels of fundraising.
Awesome. Eric?
I was just going to say, and kind of a callback to you, you mentioned name drop Mamdani being on TikTok, and we need a voice like that, not the same message, obviously. Do you mean a charismatic candidate, or do you just mean a charismatic person with a social media presence? And I'll two-part question. I'll let you answer that first, then I'll name drop some people I have in mind. That would be great if we could recruit them to officially be those people within the party. Go ahead.
Okay, so it's a combination of two, because our best messengers are going to be libertarians. But let's face it, some of our candidates are not that charismatic. They're very principled, and they're going to be great leaders, and they're going to do great things in their office when they get elected. And they're totally going to change policy, and we're going to live in a freer world. But they're as exciting as a bowl of oatmeal on TikTok. And not like the delicious oatmeal, but like the no fruit, no frills oatmeal, cold probably a little bit. But we need good charismatic candidates to do that, especially while they're running. But I'd like to see some people who could be, the ambassadors of liberty to do that all the time, not just during a campaign cycle. And, we're probably going to have some great candidates that are going to be able to continue to do that, especially when they win office. I would love to see TikTok videos or whatever the kids are using these days from your office, talking about what you're doing, talking about how you're, slashing this or promoting this or repealing this bureaucracy or getting rid of this restriction. I'd love to see those videos.
Now, all right. So second part of my question / statement, I'm going to name drop. There's one influential person from California, a registered libertarian, I think would be great for this, and that is Fred Durst. Fred Durst. He's a registered libertarian in California.
Listen,
bro, what?
I'm just saying, what Marcus, you like that, didn't you?
I thought it was.
Yeah, you did.
Wow.
And Marcus has done it all for the
I was ready to accept your nomination wholeheartedly.
I'm just saying that's an example of someone, and he may no longer be registered libertarian. I know, like a year or two ago, he was on the roll in California. Yes, Limp Bizkit. I don't know if you know, but he's kind of trending again now. He's doing all kinds of features and new artists and stuff. But is there
I don't have a
something-
connection with him, so I can't promise that I'm going to get that. But I'll
No,
tell you what,
I'm
I'll work on it.
I'm not saying him specifically, but yes, an example of someone who's got some celebrity, not you, Marcus, registered libertarian, and there's some other guys like in pop culture, different areas. Like
I don't think
Afro
it needs
Man.
to be somebody that is already in pop culture. I
Yeah.
think it could be somebody brand new
Okay.
that can build up that brand and be known for that. Which then potentially could parlay into a candidacy for that person.
Yeah.
Here's the most important thing. I'm not the one that's going to be making those decisions. I'm the one that's going to make sure that we have the resources so that the smart people that know how to make those connections and do that branding can do it. I'm not the guy that's going to do it. I'm the guy that's going to make sure that it gets done.
Word. I want to say this to Amity right now. We had the Tiger King's lawyer on this podcast. Very interesting take on that situation. Me personally, I think the Libertarian Party needs to bring back a LPTV type of thing with a modern twist.
I actually want us to have a podcasting studio so that we can do videos and then get clippers out there sharing those segments that they decide what they think is going to resonate with their audience. See, I'm not completely dumb, Amity. I do know about clippers.
Clippers.
But yeah, it's all about messaging these days. And I can change my name to Libertarian Unk or whatever. But the whole thing is we need to define our message from ourselves and do it in a manner, because one thing, my kids, I have a 23-year-old son. My daughter will be 22 in November. And they went to public school. But when they got home, I asked them what they taught you. Shut up, Eric. Let me finish my damn statement. You're looking at me all disgruntled. Because if you do, a lot of Americans have two working adults in the house, and we couldn't send our kids to a private school because it was just beyond our means.
School is the great daycare.
Yeah, but
that's really all it is, because the kids aren't learning anything there.
They're not.
Just a place for them to be when parents are working.
They're not. And you need to supplement their education at home, because if you're not extending the learning environment
are you
house,
familiar with Dolly Parton's library program, where when you're born, that you get a book like every couple of months until you're like 10 or 12 or something like that. I want to see something like that for the Tuttle twins. Now, anybody who actually knows the Dolly Parton system is the state actually pays for that. A lot of people don't know that. If your state isn't sponsoring it, they don't do it in your state. I'd like to see the Koch Foundation sponsor children born in this country to see Tuttle twins books or things like that from the time that they're a certain age and it gets sent to every child born. That's where I want you to put your money, Koch brothers. That's where I want you to put your money, Bezos. That's where I want you to do the most impact, is making sure the next generation of kids has this basis of individualism and liberty instead of the socialism that they're being taught.
Well, let me say this to that point. If you're in a school district where your school board candidates or any other person associated with that public school says we need to get back to a basic education of mathematics, reading and writing, whatever, those people are setting your kids up for failure in the 21st century employment environment, because technology is getting rid of the basic education jobs leaps and bounds every single day. The current educational model, both in some homeschooling, private and public schools, is setting kids up for failure. They don't teach entrepreneurship. They don't teach critical thinking. They don't teach you STEM should be the primary curriculum that public education.
Are you
should be
familiar
focused-
with? I think it's called the McKinsey School, or at least the woman who founded its name is McKinsey, I think. But it's a school in Texas. I think they were a private school that became a charter school, but their program is multi-grade, and it's the first half of the day is AI guided teaching. So like it learns the students' strengths and weaknesses and helps fill in the gaps and creates lesson plans for them. The second half is a mentorship program at all ages, where they have an adult that helps them through whatever program or project they're doing as both an individual and then as a group. And they focus on entrepreneurial skills. By the time they graduate from the high school, they've started a business together, and they have 100% success rate in getting kids into colleges. And the kids that leave that program are amazing. And I'm sitting here going, why isn't that the standard? Why isn't that what we're doing? Why are we shackling kids to a desk where they are memorizing the answers to a test and not actually learning anything that matter in the world or life? So I really am fascinated by those approaches, interesting approaches in education and those experiments. And we really see those because of charter schools. Charter schools were started by Democrats, because they wanted to have a place where they could experiment outside of the unions and outside of the state mandates to try new things in education. And it exploded, and they were like, oh, wait, this is threatening our union power. Let's scale this back. And now they hate them.
Yeah. Eric?
Oh, that's funny. No, that's just funny. I saw you briefly put up the Ron Paul homeschool curriculum and just call back. My daughter is in the Dolly Parton book program. Now that I know it's state funded, I'm going to have to withdraw her from that.
Wait, don't do that, dude. You're already paying for it.
I know. I'm kidding.
Listen to Ayn Rand. Already taking your money.
Yeah.
Take back the system. Take those books, but advocate for them to stop the program. But don't. And
also, I wanted to mention, I've given out multiple copies of Economics in One Lesson that Mises is.
I got boxes of those in the office we give out. Yeah.
Yep, give them out all the time. I did it on the campaign trail when I was running for iPencil. That's another one. And also like our affiliate.
Hey, hold on. Don't do that. Don't give that out on the campaign trail. Remember what we were talking about before, where we got to talk the language of the person that's there? That's the thing that you give to the people after, like when they've come to the fair booth and you follow up with them, then give them that. Don't give it to them right away, man, because it hits differently. You know what I mean? You want to give them the shot glass of the Liberty Kool-Aid first before you start giving them the education.
I wouldn't force it down their throat, but it would be on the table with merch for free. You know what I mean? Like
that's a totally different thing. Like just don't. I mean, if you're going door to door, don't be like, here.
No. Yeah,
read this pamphlet. It'll change your life.
Will you vote for me? Sign this petition and read this book, or else.
Yeah.
All right.
And the reason why
it's
a bad idea is because it makes that person feel like you think they're stupid.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. You want the person to feel like they are being seen and heard about what's relevant to them. Yeah. And if you can do that, you're not only going to have, somebody who's interested, but you're going to have somebody who's going to want to support you. They're going to want to see you do good things in the community. So see them, hear them, make sure that you have that connection, but don't make them feel like they're dumb. And you try to do that. They may not say it, but that's the impact that it has. Is it makes them feel like you think they're dumb.
So I do IT for a living, and that is one of the first. Yeah, I do it for a living, and that's one of the first thing they teach you is about this computer system or software or whatever the case may be. When you're talking to people, don't make them feel stupid. I'm struggling with that concept over the last 48 hours because after Thomas Massey lost, I'm like, these people are stupid. What did he actually do? He voted with Republicans 91% of the time based on his own statement, and said the only time he didn't vote with them when it was a fiscal policy that was against the American people, and when it was for the victims of one of the most notorious child sex predators in modern history. And that got him unselected, seen as unfit for office in the United States of America, standing up for you when fiscal policy was to your detriment, and being a victim advocate. And the Republican,
can I push back on you for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
I don't think they're stupid. I don't think they're dumb. I think two things about them, and I have empathy and sadness for them. Because if you've ever seen somebody being deprogrammed from a cult, they don't know. They can't see it. You're the crazy one. How can you not see that this person is blessed by God? Why don't you see it? I see it. It's that type of mentality where it's slowly been brainwashed into them that this is infallible, that this is the person that represents you. You know, this billionaire who's never worked a real day in his life somehow understands your plight working at the grocery store. That's part of it. The other thing is it's become their identity. And it's hard to shatter that identity. You know, I'm from Indianapolis, and we stole another city's football team, you know, and that shattered their identity because everybody there, you know, they were the Colts.
Yeah.
And that was their community identity. And then overnight it was gone. It's hard to break that identity, and people won't, you know, look in the mirror and see that. It's very hard to get that. So the thing that I would say is, instead of, you know, being, why can't you see this? Instead, have empathy and say, hey man, I want you to, you know, just take a look at this. Be soft in the tone, be gentle in the approach. Have compassion for them. Understand that their worldview is about to be rocked when they have that epiphany. And have some, you know, excitement and joy in yourself, knowing that you're going to help that person have that epiphany, that you're going to be the one that leads them out of that nightmare hellscape that they've got themselves locked into, because it's only going to get worse for them. You know what I mean? So, you know, have that like energy inside you that I'm helping someone, and do it with compassion and a soft touch, because it's real hard breaking down, you know, that internal, you know, they've internalized this image of themselves, and it's become this identity. And think about it. How many people do you know that are just draped head to toe? Their car has got like 7 flags on it, you know? It's their identity. Be soft. You know what I mean?
Yeah. As we're approaching the hour and we start to close this out, I'm going to pass the mic to Eric so he could bust his freestyle questions to you, because is mad because we don't write our shit down. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I want to apologize for the fact that, you know, you're coming on the day after Massey Hughes' election. It seems like we're talking a lot about a Republican primary whenever you're running for chair of the Libertarian Party. But here's a quick one, and I'll let you attack this any way you want. Pros and cons, yes, no. Should the LP try to recruit Thomas Massey to be our presidential candidate for 2028?
I don't think we should recruit him. I think we should be open to him having the realization and making a decision on his own. We need to be welcoming, inviting. We need to make sure that I talk about the Liberty Kool-Aid. I have a cup of Liberty Kool-Aid ready for him, but I'm not going to make him drink it. I want him to feel comfortable and feel like this is his home.
So I just want to add to that. I remember whenever I first joined Libertarian Party around 2020, COVID pissed me off. I went to my first state convention, and Justin Amash was walking around, and he had just left. He may not have even, I think he had changed his party affiliation to Libertarian, why he was in Congress. I don't think he was in Congress anymore at this point. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But he had an exploratory committee to run for president in 2020, maybe 2024's election. I can't remember the timeline exactly. I think it was 2020 though. And he was kind of persuaded by a certain faction, like, hey, don't just come into the party and try to take over or try and throw your hat in the ring. Come to the party and get involved. And I feel like we might have wasted a little bit of timing and momentum and name recognition that Amash had. And it's kind of like,
so inside baseball, that's not quite how that went down. He was thinking about it for a long time, and people were telling him, you can't just wait until the month before convention to say, I want to be the candidate. You're not going to get the nomination. He'd already been around the party. He was already doing state conventions and stuff like that. The thing was, I hate to cuss, but shit or get off the pot. Like, don't wait until the last minute, you know? And that was the thing. And then leading up to the 2020 convention, there was a lot of factionalism going on at that point. And he just decided, this isn't the right space for me right now. I'm not going to throw my hat in the ring. So that was kind of more about what that was. That wasn't anybody telling him, you've not been around long enough. No, I'm not going to say. There were plenty of libertarians who were like, you still smell like a Republican. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a thing. Yeah. You know, we sniff the hand and, you know, you still smell GOP. But there were plenty.
But is that a thing that keeps us from, you know, breaking 1% in a presidential election because we've run off good talent?
No, I really don't think so. I think it really comes down to this. One, the system's rigged against us. It's really hard to get the ballot access. In Indiana, it took, we've had ballot access since 1994. And we have to get 2% in the Secretary of State's race to maintain ballot access. Now, let me tell you, the last political third party that had ballot access in Indiana was the Bull Moose Party. That's Roosevelt. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how hard it is in Indiana. But we've maintained it. But that first time when we got it, the way we got it was two separate campaigns. It was one group of people who went out and collected the petitions to get it. And like, you had to do like tons more than you actually need because they're not going to be valid. This was back in 1994. And then you had the campaign running. Without that, it would have crashed and burned. But so that was, you know, you're raising money for the petition and then you're raising money for the campaign, and they got to kind of run on separate tracks. And Steve Dillon, our candidate for SOS, who was actually also been the president of National Normal a couple of times, he hit the 2% threshold. So, you know, the system is rigged automatically. So the best thing that we can do is to build up the momentum within state affiliates, starting on the county level, and build those grassroots up. So if you have a community like we have 32, actually it's 22 elected libertarians right now, all doing good work in Indiana. They're building up name ID. We have 3 people running for re-election this year, okay? And they're likely going to win because they're doing good work in the community. In Indiana, every race is partisan, and we have straight ticket voting, okay? So it's really difficult. But so, you know, building that up, that's how we get there. That's how we break that 1%. That's how we do that. But it's the presidential helps feed the media for the bottom of the ticket to grow, but the bottom of the ticket growing and having success on the local level makes it so that we can win those higher seats. You get some township advisory boards. I've got a city councilor in Jonesboro, Indiana, who's doing amazing work. You know, shout out to Clayton Soltz. You know, the more good work that he does, the more elected libertarians he's going to have in his county. Then that spreads to the next county. And the next thing you know, I've got a state rep. And then if I've got a state rep, maybe I can get 2. And if I can get 2, I can get a state senator. And if I can get a state senator, I can win a statewide race. If I can win a statewide race, I can win a congressional seat. If I can win a congressional seat, dude, come on.
Yeah. Incrementalism.
Yeah. It seems slow, but like the more fire you put on, the more kerosene you put on it, the more it's going to build and build and build. That oxygen is just going to feed that fire, and it's going to spread and spread and spread until they can't contain it anymore, right? And it becomes a wildfire spreading across the country.
Awesome.
I have nothing but enthusiasm. I have nothing but not even hope, but just optimism that, man, if we can come together and do the work, if we can come together and run our candidates, if we can grow our membership, if we can raise the funds, and if we can just stay on message and scope, this product sells itself. Everybody wants to be free. They just don't know it yet.
I think that's the thing we end this on, those words right there. Can you tell the people how they could find you on social media and whatnot?
Yeah, so Evan McMahon LP on Facebook. And if I don't say my X account, Amity will throw things at me. So I'm at Bad Evan. But you can also go to evanmcmahon.co, and that's my website, my campaign website or chair website. So yeah.
Awesome. Eric, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for coming on, Evan. It was great.
Good talking to you guys.
This has been the Black Powder Podcast, the only real libertarian podcast, followed way back by my good friend Free. I can't say enough about that guy. He's a cool dude, but he's a, you know, he is what he is. Hold on. Free says this was way better than the time you had Joe Hanush on instead. Let's go. I appreciate that, and I appreciate Joe Hanush. Joe Hanush, if anybody doesn't know, is one of the executive producers of this podcast. He does our guest coordination and makes sure we get quality people on here. The Libertarian Party is filled with quality people. You need to stop listening to the duopoly, because one of the only few things they're going to agree on is keeping the system the same, whereas you cannot have a actual honest choice in your elected officials, because you're not giving libertarians a honest opportunity. And this is where this podcast comes into play. We're defining ourselves. We're not letting them define us, and we're bringing you the true message of libertarianism. So with that being said, as we always end this podcast, Eric, you can take the second part. I'll say the first. Live free
or die.
Thank you very much. This has been the